Hi everybody, I'm back. Sorry I haven't been uploading, I was just really busy with some stuff. So, with the new 10th edition going on, let's begin, shall we? So, for 10th edition, yesterday, I played one of my favorite armies, the genestealer cults. So we're going to paint nothing but a good old-fashioned pure strain genestealer. Keep in mind, you can also use this for your actual Tyranids army. I'm just painting it the way for genestealer cults. So, let's start painting, shall we? So, for the first part of paint, we're going to base coat the entire miniature using Contour Blue. So, maybe we're going to shake up our paints. Okay, let me just make sure I find my palette real quick. Well, this is just a spare table, so I guess I can. For this, I'm going to use a little bigger brush, just a little bit. So we're going to take some Contour Blue out of the pot and put it on our palette right here. This is actually a spare table, so I'm just going to use it. Don't do this to your table. So if you have a palette, please use it. So we're going to take a little bit of water right here. A little bit of water, a little more. Perfect. So, and then we're going to mix it with our Contour Blue. So for the Contour Blue, we're going to go all over the miniature, literally all over. So the carapace, the arms, and don't worry if you get it on the arms or the face. Don't worry, we're going to paint those later. But still continue using Contour Blue. And make sure it's a nice even coat around the whole miniature. This is usually a base paint, so you pretty much only need one coat, but don't worry if you need a second coat, don't worry, that's completely fine. And one little fact that a lot of people don't know is that this paint scheme is very similar to a Tyranid High Fleet known as High Fleet Hydra, but they're not really much their own like dependent fleet. So, but if you want to play High Fleet Hydra, this is the best way to do it as well. And one thing a lot of people miss: do not forget the under part of the carapace right here, the arms, the chest, and the other arms right here. All right, there we go. So, with the carapace base coated for right now, we're going to move on to a different part of the miniature. For this, we're going to start base coating the skin. So, let me just wash off my brush real quick. Always make sure to wash off your brushes cleanly. Take some paper towel and your brush and, just wipe it off. I never shown you, like, wiping off my brushes. This is why I'd rather show you. So, okay. So, while the blue is drying, we're going to start off with a different base coat. We're going to start on the purplish skin that they have. So, it may be a little weird, but since it's gray, this will work really perfect for layer paints, which is extremely beautiful, which is extremely useful. So, let me just make sure I have the right colors. Let me just make sure I find them real quick. So much gray. Perfect. All right, so for the skin, basically, we're going to use an all-over layer over the gray. Let me just make sure I get some of the blue off the. Okay, there we go. So for this, we're going to start off with a base coat. We're going to use a base coat of Tequila Lilac. But if you don't have Tequila Lilac, you can of course use Demon Hide. I'm just using Tequila Lilac to base coat the purples. So take some Tequila Lilac. So what we're going to do, we're going to take this old brush. These work pretty good because it's already fine tipped a little bit. Tequila Lilac. Put on your palette. You don't. Paint is a layer paint, so you don't need much water, but just a little bit. Just a little bit. Perfect. All right. So onto the miniature. So let me just make sure I focus this. So for the Tequila Lilac, we're going to base coat everywhere. So the hands, the feet, and the head. So for right now, I'll show you with the feet. So for right here, you're going to base coat all over the feet like this. The bottom and top of the feet, and make sure that all the limbs on the ends of the limbs right here. Just make sure. So right here, for this one it's a little difficult because it's standing on something, but don't worry. Look, see, just pose it where you want it, and right there. All right, that's the feet base coated. Now we're going to move on to the hands, which are very easy. So up here, this is just the backhand, so it's pretty easy. A little more paint. I'll have to base coat that part in just a minute. Hold on, let me just get my thing. Let me just clean off my brush real quick. I'll have to come back to that hand in just a moment. So let's go with this hand right here. Oh, if you're wondering why this is blue, it's because I just mixed a clump of it and actually turbo mixed in the blue by accident. I'll fix that in a minute. So, for the top part of the main hand, So for right here, you're also going to base coat this part of the bottom part of the hand, like so. Let me clean off my brush, it just mixed in. But if you want the mix-ins, that's fine. I'm just gonna reapply some paint over it. Just a second. Lilac. There we go. So then we're gonna finish off this hand right here. All right, with the bluish hands now dry, we can finally paint over our base coat over it. Underneath. All right, now, sorry about that, but now it's time to focus on the very part of the skin, very, very important part of the skin. Oh, let me just make sure there's no pooling anywhere. There we go. Now we're going to move on to the head. So what we're going to do, take some more Tyranid Lilac and we're going to start base coating the head. So this includes the head, the neck, the face, and even the top carapace part, which they have right here. All right, that's the purple base coated for right now. So now, what we're going to do is, while we're waiting for that to dry and apply a second coat, we're going to apply a wash all over the blue. So for the blue, basically we're going to take a very simple wash. For this, we're going to take a good old-fashioned thin down. Where is it? Oh, here it is. We're going to use Nolan oil. This is the new Nolan oil shade, but always make sure with your washes, shake them up. All right, with that wash shaken up, what we're going to do is that we're going to go back to our pretty big brush. So what we're going to do is this. So we're going to take some Nolan oil right here, and we're going to apply it all over the carapace. So look where the blue is, and just base coat it and just shade it with Nolan oil. You could of course use darken off nightshade. I'm just using Nolan oil so it help darken the recesses a little more. Go everywhere where the recess is, so that the carapace is, so the tail, legs, arms, and especially here under the underside. All right, there we go. That's the carapace shaded. All right, now, with the carapace now drying, we're now going to apply our second coat of Tyranid Lilac onto the skin of the genestealer. So, the reason why we're using two coats is because this is a layer paint, so we'll take a couple of thin coats in order to get the base coat that we're looking for. So, what we're going to do now is we're going to apply wherever the Tyranid Lilac didn't really apply. So for right here, on the hands a little bit, and the back of the head mostly. All right, that's everything base coated on the skin. All right, now what we're going to do is going to do something very simple to wait while the wash is drying and the skin is drying. We're going to paint the claws. So for the claws of the miniature, we're going to use a good old-fashioned Baden black. So shake up your base paints like so. So we're going to take some Baden black. Let me move the miniature for a second right here. Okay, and now what we're going to do is going to put this on the claws. So for right here, all over the claws. Literally all over the claws. And they also have a claw on their back part of the feet right here. That's the claws on the feet. Now for the hands, it's a little more tricky, but don't worry. So right here for the backhand, they have dual claws just right here on the ends, like so. That's it. And for this, just their fingers. Alright, so with that good, with the black done, that's the claws done. Alright, now for the tongue. You could of course paint the tongue of whatever color you want, but for the tongue, I'm just gonna use Bugman's Glow. So for right here, we're gonna check up some Bugman's Glow. Put it here. Okay, let me move my miniature just for a second. Alright, so now we're gonna do take some Bugman's Glow, put it on the palette, and then put all over the tongue. So some of the tongues may have little teeth at the end. You can paint those if you want, but I prefer just leaving it plain. All right, that's the tongue base coated. All right, so now with the skin almost now dry, now we're gonna highlight the carapace, which is my favorite part. So for this, we're gonna start off with oh, let me just make sure I have the right color for a second. Let me check. Okay, no I don't. Okay, sorry, I was just making sure I had it. So for this, we're gonna do a dry brush. We're gonna use Techless Blue. So what we're gonna do, shake up the paint. And if you don't know what dry brushing is where you take most of the paint off your brush and then highlight it like that. So let me just get a brush so I can get the example going. Here we are. I'm going to use, hold on, I just dropped something. Sorry about that. So we're going to take a makeup brush. You may be wondering why, but a makeup brush has really good bristles for dry brushing. So what we're going to do, we're going to take some Techless Blue and put it on the makeup brush, just a little bit. Just like so. And then right here, we're going to wipe off most of the paint off on a paper towel. Circular motion, side to side, it doesn't matter, just get most of the paint off. Alright, with most of the paint off, we're now going to highlight the carapace. So, what we're going to do is go gently on the carapace, like so, just gently. Very, very gentle, very, very gentle. You can leave the underside unhighlighted if you want, but I prefer to highlight the underside just to make sure it gets more depth. More depth. Alright, there we go. Believe it or not, that's the carapace done. The carapace is that simple. Alright, so now, what we're going to do is we're going to start shading the skin. So, for the skin, we're just going to use a good old-fashioned shade. Let me just make sure I find it real quick. We're going to use Druchii Eye Violet. This is the new Druchii Eye Violet, so let me just wash off my brush that I dry brushed with. Wipe it off. Perfect. Then always shake up your washes. Alright, good. So we're gonna take our medium shade brush from Citadel. So sorry. So, what we're going to do, take our shade brush from Citadel, medium shade brush. Sorry about that. So, what we're going to do is this. So, we're going to shade all over the skin. So, all over using Druchii Eye Violet. Alright, now with the skin shaded, now we're going to wait for now we're going to do one last thing. So now we're going to start painting the carapace on the front part of his head. So for the front part of the head, so we're going to go back to contour blue. So what we're going to do is this: contour blue. Tighten up your brush. Make sure your brush is nice and fine, and just paint the carapace part on top of the head. So just the carapace part. That's all. All right, there we go, and that's the top on the part of the carapace done the head. So now, what we're gonna do is we're gonna start highlighting the skin. So for this, we're gonna use just something very simple. We're gonna start off using Warping Gray. So shake up your paints, on with the Warping Gray. So I am gonna switch to a smaller brush for this. Let me just make sure I find it. Here it is. We're gonna use just this brush. So Warping Gray. Now, Warping Gray is not totally gray. It's kind of like it's more like a pale purple. So what we're going to do is this. So what we're going to do is going to start painting. Oh, almost forgot the water. Always send down your paints. All right, there we go. Now, we're going to start painting over the skin. So for right here on the top of the face, just make sure the ridges on the face, you don't need to paint those right now, so you can just leave those blank if you want. Paint the neck, highlight the neck as well. Now, we're going to wipe off most of the paint and just do this. Same for the feet. Let me just get the... Now, for the fingers, it's going to be very simple. Just do this. Gently go across the ridges, just gently. Gently, gently, gently. Same for the other side, other big hand. And if it goes in recesses, just wipe it off. There you go. That fixes it. And then make sure to highlight the underside of the hands, but you don't really have to. All right, there we go. That's our genestealer done. So this is the battle ready version for the Pure Strange Genestealers, but don't worry. If you want to look up anywhere else for the Pure Strange Genestealers, I highly recommend watching Warhammer on YouTube. So I really hope you enjoyed today's tutorial. Bye bye.